In this video, we're going to look at the question 1 for the CSEC Math January 2024 paper 2. So here we have in our first question, question 1 part A, we have expressed as a single fraction in its simplest form. Now notice this question never asks us to use our calculator, therefore we have to show all working. So first, applying BODMAS, we know we have to work out brackets first. So we'll have to work out this 1 over 30 plus 4 over 15 first, because this is in brackets. So I'll just come here and work that out. So I'll have 1 over 30 plus 4 over 15. We'll need to find the LCM. So the LCM between 30 and 15, well, we know 15 can go into 30 two times, and well, 30 can go into 30 once, so the LCM will just be 30. So I put 30 here. Then 30 into 30 is 1. 1 multiplied by the numerator, which is 1. You get back 1. Plus 15 into 30 is 2. So you take that 2 and multiply by the numerator, which is 4. So 2 by 4 is 8. So we have 8 here. So now we add the 1 and the 8 and we get 9. So we have 9 over 30. So now looking at this 9 over 30, I realize that 3 could go into 30 and 3 could also go into 9. So let's break it down. So we'll have 3 into 9 is 3, and 3 into 30 is 10. So what we'll get is 3 over 10. So now I'm just going to rewrite the question. So we have 1 take away 1 over 30 plus 4 over 15. Of course, that's in brackets. Which would imply we have 1 take away, and we put the answer for this 1 over 30 plus 4 over 15, which worked out to be 3 over 10. So that'll be 3 over 10. And you could go and do LCM again, put 1 over 1 and work this out. But you should know that if the denominator here is 10, I can represent this 1 as 10 over 10. So I could just do this and put 10 over 10, take away 3 over 10, because 10 over 10 is 1. And now I don't have to do any LCM. I could just say 10 take away 3, which is 7. So this would just be equal to 7 over 10. So the denominator remains 10 because here's 10 and here's 10. And we just work with the numerators, right? So 10 take away 3, which is 7. And this will be your answer, 7 over 10, because we can't break this down any further. So let's put answer is equal to 7 over 10. All right, so moving on to part B of this question 1. We have a 2-story car park has a total of 1,020 parking spaces. At 6:30 hours one morning, 1/30th of the 1,020 spaces are filled. So let's work out that. So I'll put 1/30th multiplied by the 1,020 over 1. And this will be 1/30th of 1,020. So first off, the zeros could cancel here. Now bear in mind, you can use a calculator for this. All right, so now 3 into 102. Let's see if we could go in without leaving a remainder. So 3 into 1 cannot. 3 into 10, we'll get 3. So I'll write 3 here. The remainder will be 1. So put 1 here. And now 3 into 12 is 4. So when I cancel this 3 here, I get 1. And when I cancel this 3 the 102, I get 34. So this is equal to 34. Now let's use the calculator. So if I go on the calculator and use my fraction button, being this button here, I can put 1 over 30 like this. And that's simply multiplied by 1,020 like that. Press equal. And you see you get 34. So now let's keep reading. So we have during the next hour. So 1 hour away from 6:30 will be 7:30 in the morning. So during the next hour, no cars left the car park, which means we still have 34 cars in the car park. But another 4/15 of the 1,020 spaces are filled. So this here is for 6:30. And 1 hour later, we have 4/15 of the 1,020 spaces are filled. Well, a further 4/15. And again, we could cancel and work this out, or we could just use the calculator. So I put equal to, and using the calculator, 4, press the fraction button, over 15, multiply by 1,020, and we get 272. So I'll come here and put 272. So the way this working is that at 6:30 we have 34 spaces filled. 1 hour later we have a further 272 spaces filled. Therefore at 7:30 we'll have a total of 272 plus 34 spaces filled. So at 7:30 we have parking spaces filled would be the 34 plus the 272. So we have 34 plus 272, and we get 306. So this will be equal to 306. Now the question is asking us, determine the number of parking spaces that are not filled. So what we calculated here was the number of parking spaces that are filled at 7:30. Now they want us to determine the parking spaces that are not filled at 7:30. So we know there's a total of 1,020 spaces, and we know at 7:30 306 are filled. So the unfilled parking spaces, we just have to subtract these two numbers, right? So 1,020 take away 306. So here we have empty parking spaces at 7:30 would be equal to the 1,020 take away the 306. So that will be equal to, so you put 1,020, take away 306, and we get 714. So that would be 714 spaces are empty. Now for part C, we have, of the 120 parking spaces, 20% are on the top level. How many parking spaces are there on the top level? So that's simple. Just find 20% of 1,020. So 20%, which is 20 over 100, multiplied by 1,020 is equal to, and again, this could be called simple cancellations, cancel the 0 here, cancel the 0 here, and all we end up with is 2 times 102, which is 204. So the answer will be 204 parking spaces on the top level. So now moving on to part D, we have some spaces are reserved for monthly paying customers. The ratio of reserved spaces to non-reserved spaces is 5:7. So on this ratio 5:7, the 5 shares would be the reserved spaces and the 7 shares would be the non-reserved spaces. So what we want to do is calculate the number of non-reserved parking spaces. So we know our total shares is equal to the 5 plus 7. And 5 plus 7 is 12, so we have 12 shares in total. And remember, the total number of parking spaces was 1,020, which means my 12 shares is equal to 1,020 parking spaces. So what we want to do is find out, how much is 1 share. And once we get what's 1 share, we could find out what is the 5 shares or the 7 shares, anything we want. So to get 1 share, I'll have to divide this side by 12. As you know, whatever you do to one side of the equal sign, you must do the same thing to the other side. So dividing this side by 12 will give us 1 share. I must divide this by 12 also. So I'll have 1 share is equal to 1,020 divided by 12. So 1,020 divided by 12 will give us 85. So we have 1 share is 85. And now remember, the non-reserved parking spaces is equivalent to the 7 shares. So 7 shares is equal to 85 times 7. So I'll just take that 85 and multiply it by 7. And I get 595. So this is equal to 595 parking spaces. So the non-reserved parking spaces is equal to 595. So moving on to part E here, we have the cost for parking at a car park is shown in the table below. So we have length of visit here. So we have under 30 minutes, more than 30 minutes, and up to 2 hours, and so on. And here we have the cost. So for part 1, we have Michaela leaves the car park at 18:30 hours and pays $9.25. So they want us to determine the earliest time she could arrive at the car park. So if we look at the money that she pays, which is $9.25, and try to find out, where that falls here. So we have under 30 minutes is free, but more than 30 minutes up to 2 hours is this price, and we see the $9.25 here. So that's more than 4 hours and up to 8 hours. So the maximum amount of time she could spend at the car park for $9.25 is 8 hours. Now remember, Michaela leaves the car park at 18:30 hours. So what we are trying to figure out is, when did she arrive? What's the earliest time she could arrive? Now if you look at the range of 4 to 8 hours and we look at the lower end of 4 hours, arriving 4 hours before would be later than arriving 8 hours before. So if she arrived 8 hours before, that'll be the earlier time. So all we have to do is subtract the 8 hours from the 18:30 hours, and that's simple. 18 take away 8 is 10, so you get 10:30 as the answer. So we have 18:30 like this, take away the 8 hours. So this is 18 hours and 30 minutes, and this is just 8 hours and 0 minutes. So we are taking away, of course, zeros. 3 take away 0 is 3, 8 take away 8 is 0, and remain with the 1. So I have the earliest time she could arrive would be 10:30 hours. So next we have part 2, where we have Danraj bought a weekly parking ticket for $40. That week he visited the car park 5 different times. The length of time he parked his car on each occasion is given below. So we have 25 minutes, 7.5 hours, 11 hours, 8.75 hours, and 8 hours. So we want to show that Danraj saved $8.50 by buying the weekly tickets. So I just brought back the table with the length of visit and the cost. So this 25 minutes would have been free because under 30 minutes is free. So I'm going to write free here. So this was free. Then we have 7.5 hours. Where does that fall? Well, that will be more than 4 hours and up to 8 hours. So 7.5 hours is within this range, and that'll be $9.25. So here I'll put $9.25. Then next we have 11 hours. So 11 hours will fall in this range, more than 8 hours and up to 24 hours. And that will be $15. So for 11 hours, that will cost $15. Then we have 8.75 hours. Let's see where that falls. Well, it wouldn't fall here because it's more than 8 hours. So again, that will fall within here. 8 hours up to 24 hours. So that will be a further $15. And then we have 8 hours. Now notice, more than 4 hours and up to 8 hours. Here starts at more than 8 hours. So the 8 hours will fall in this range here, which is $9.25. So here we have $9.25. So now all we have to do is add up all these costs and see if the money crosses $40 or if it's under $40. If it crosses $40, then it would have been better to take the weekly parking ticket of $40. But if it's under $40, then not taking the weekly parking ticket would have been the better option. So let's see. So I'm going to have the $9.25 plus the $15 plus $15 again plus $9.25. Of course, we add in. So I have $9.25 plus $15 plus $15 again plus $9.25. And I get $48.50. So 0.5, remember, is money we're dealing with, so we need 2 decimal places. So this will be 50 cents. So we have $48.50. Now it's very clear to see that if he paid $40 for a weekly parking ticket, this crosses that amount by $8.50. So he saves $8.50 by buying the weekly parking ticket. But still, we are actually looking for it. So I was going to put money saved is equal to the $48.50. Take away $40 for the weekly parking ticket. and that will be $8.50. And that will bring us to the end of question 1 and the end of this video. The next video will be on question 2.